Good evening and welcome to another edition of Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Iron Port is proudly brought to you in association with the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Ghana Revenue Authority, GOIL Company Limited, Serene Insurance, and Ghana Link Network Services. They are operators of the integrated customs management systems at the ports. Indeed, this program, the abridged version, is also aired on Ghana Television GTV on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Our media partner is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. If you want to have a grasp of all that transpired on this show, make a date on Thursday and grab a copy of the Thursday edition of the Business and Financial Times, and you'll be able to see all that happened here on the show. You can also get interactive with us on the WhatsApp line to send your messages to 0559 019 177, 0559 019 177. We're also streaming live on our social media handles at Iron Port Ghana on Facebook and YouTube. You can get there and join us and watch the show. My name is Kennedy Mona. I'll be back after this break.
Every now and again, GOIL makes good things happen. This time, GOIL has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. GOIL Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. GOIL Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. GOIL Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with GOIL Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. GOIL has that sorted. GOIL, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Oh, how are you?
Hi Yvonne, a few words please. Everyone is talking about the fire at your production house last week. How are you holding up? Has production stalled?
No, not at all. My crew and everyone on my set is perfectly fine because I insure with Serene Insurance. As a matter of fact, I've had all my equipment replaced, including the vehicles that were affected. My workers have been sorted out. Even my production downtime has been covered. So it's all good. I have a meeting to attend to, so I have to get going. Sorry about that.
Which insurance company did you mention?
Serene Insurance, the new face of insurance, a member of First Sky Group.
You're welcome back. It's time for us to take a look at some of the activities that took place in the port and maritime industry during the course of the week. Three comes to mind. One, GOIL says it wants to diversify and be a major supplier of bitumen in the country. We also had some Nigerian military students, students from the Nigerian Armed Forces, Staff and Command College, who paid a courtesy call at the port of Tema. And then we also have an incident that took place, a very sad one indeed, some PIRACY attack that took place in the course of the week with the abduction, or so to speak, the kidnap of some 5 expats. We have those stories up shortly.
5 expatriates have been kidnapped after pirates hijacked a Ghanaian registered tuna vessel, Atlantic Princess, approximately 66 nautical miles south of Tema, Ghana. The abducted crew are Korean, Chinese, and Russian nationals in the incident that took place on May 19, 2021. Information gathered by Eye on Port was that the fishing vessel was approached and fired upon by a skiff boat with 8 armed perpetrators on board. The vessel stopped and the armed pirates with AK-47 boarded the vessel. The pirates, upon getting on board, instructed the vessel to alter course further southeast until they finally disembarked with the 5 kidnapped after spending about 6 hours on the vessel. The pirates also rummaged the vessel and took away personal crew belongings, including laptop, phones, money, and other valuables. There were no injuries to the remaining crew. The second officer of the vessel, Isaac Ejio, identified the pirates as Nigerians and narrated his ordeal.
At the time they came, but then the CCTV was in operation. Yeah, until the electrician came before they started disconnecting this. Nigerian, you know, say, I've worked in Nigeria, so when they speak, I easily identify an accent from a Ghanaian language.
The Tema Port Security Manager, Colonel Emmanuel Nyante, said the vessel has now been docked at the port of Tema, with investigations ongoing.
All effort is being made to trace the whereabouts of the hostages. The Navy, National Security, and Air Force have all come together to make sure that this is achieved as soon as possible.
Meanwhile, steps to strengthen bilateral cooperation between Ghana and Nigeria towards improved maritime security are ongoing. 67 students from the Nigerian Armed Forces Staff College have visited the port of Tema as part of a study tour to boost information exchange with respect to maritime security.
The purpose of their visit is to research on topical issues affecting the African sub-region. And this year, the theme for our visit is national efforts towards improved regional security.
Receiving the delegation, the Tema Port Security Manager, Colonel Emmanuel Nyante, educated the students on standard security procedures at the port and mitigating internal and external security threats.
For the sea areas, we have a rescue patrol team, we have vessel security or gangway duties, and also we have a dog team for trailing and tracking and rummaging. We have the U.S. Coast Guard coming around yearly to conduct inspections. And I must say that the Tema port is ISPS compliant.
He also emphasized the importance of strengthened regional cooperation towards the fight against piracy that is bedeviling the Gulf of Guinea. Principal Marketing and Public Affairs Officer at the Port of Tema, Lydia Tham, also underscored the adaptive measures adopted by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority and its relevant health and security stakeholders in ensuring business continuity during the advent of COVID-19.
We have a hospital, we have a personnel who will go on board the ship, will take the specimen, will check if the person has COVID or not before the vessel is even allowed to come in. So 72 hours before arrival in our port, your captain should forward such information to our harbour master for him to see that everybody has taken the COVID test before the vessel is even allowed to come to port.
The leading oil marketing company in Ghana, GOIL, says it remains committed to its strategic objective of becoming the major supplier of bitumen and producer of the best quality polymer modified bitumen for the country.
Now, with the facility that we are building, we're going to add value to that. Instead of government spending so much money and building quality roads, we get that here.
Speaking in an interview in Accra, the group CEO and managing director of the company, Kwame Osei-Prempeh, stated that GOIL is positioning itself as the leader in bitumen supply in the country. The plant, which started 2 years ago, has 3 facilities, which are a 3-in-1 project stocking raw bitumen, production of polymer modified bitumen, and emulsions. He noted that the construction of bitumen plant in Tema, which is in collaboration with SMB of La Côte d'Ivoire, will be completed by the end of September 2021 and is expected to provide jobs and technology technology transfer to Ghanaians. When completed, he said, the plant will produce the required volumes and other bituminous products sufficient to the needs of Ghana's road construction sector, while reducing drastically the importation of bituminous products into the country.
If we finish with this, it will help government achieve the aim of improving on our road infrastructure. Because if nothing at all, government will have the bitumen needed here. It will get the PMB, the modifier, the asphalt needed.
Kwame Osei-Prempeh was confident that GOIL will be able to meet the demand of bitumen in the country and also export to some countries in the West Africa sub-region to earn foreign exchange for the country.
I believe, look at the capacity of GOIL, we will be able to do. It wouldn't be long after you've started this, and I believe that by the way we are going, what we are producing, the capacity we are building, very soon GOIL may rather be exporting.
The plant has the capacity to stock 6,000 metric tons of raw bitumen and produce 200 metric tons per day of PMB and 200 metric tons of emulsions daily.
Now tonight we're talking the 50% benchmark value. What is it? Indeed, in 2019, we all recall that the Vice President announced the 50% benchmark value for all imported goods and 30% for imported vehicles. Now, 2 years down the line, there seemed to be some confusion with respect to this particular policy. The Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, is raising eyebrows and says this policy does not inure to the benefit of its members, who are particularly manufacturers. And now they've petitioned international organizations to, intervene in this matter. Tonight, we're taking a look at it. GUTA, that's the Ghana Union of Traders Association, on its part, says the policy is quite good and that they are enjoying it and are calling for its retention. And so we ask the question tonight, the 50% benchmark value, to scrap or to retain? Let me introduce my guests tonight. To my left is Dr. Joseph Obing. He is the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA. And to my right is Mr. Seth Chum Akwabwa. He is the chief executive officer of the Association of Ghana Industries. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, so one would have thought that the 50% benchmark value would have brought some relief and some excitement to industry players, but there seemed to be, if you allow me, some element of acrimony and some, rancor between you two. Let me begin with you, Dr. Obing. Let's go back to the basics. Tell our listeners what the benchmark value is, 50%.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. And let me also say that there's no acrimony among the larger section of the business community. Okay. Just a few manufacturers who want to raise unnecessary alarm.
I'm sure we'll get to that. The spokesperson for the manufacturers is here, so let's get to it.
Yeah. The benchmark of 50% reduction policy came to solve a problem, a major problem. You're a journalist, and I know that you recall traders have been agitating on the fact that doing business here is very high based on the duty that we pay. So it had been a call from all importers all the time. It's been a long time agitation till the present government listened to our pleas and came up with this benchmark reduction policy to help all of us, including AGI. It's not selective. So the status quo was that we're paying duties from the range of 10%, 20%, 35%, and thereabout. And so we wanted government to reduce the duty rates itself. But government was challenged because of the CET. That's Common External Tariff. That is adopted by the ECOWAS community. Yes, so Ghana could not exempt itself from the those duty rates. Yeah. So government, out of its wisdom and very good innovation, came out that then they would discount us with the invoice values. So when we say something is benchmark value, it means that we have a lot of confusion at the valuation system at the port. When, because of suspicion, the importer bring his goods, the invoice value he submits, and custom is suspicious of it. And then customs will also come with its own set of values, and we also say that they are overpricing these values. So they have already adopted some values that they use to benchmark maybe average values, that a set of values that customs have used to cross-check all values. And that's what they call the benchmark values. And so now, regardless of whatever invoice value that you are bringing, customs is going to use its own benchmark to see whether the value that you are bringing is correct or not correct. And sometimes they will upgrade the values. And there were a lot of confusions though. And so with this 50% reduction, what it meant was that if even customs increase your values, you have the opportunity of the 50% reduction as well, so that it stabilizes the price. Right. So because a whooping 50% will make the increase or decrease, whatever, or under invoicing. So it came to solve that under invoicing and then the overpricing issue, that argument that used to go there. So let's take, for instance, if you bring goods under the old regime and that your goods is dutable of 20%, cumulatively, if your invoice value is $100,000, they have to charge you the duty first on the $100,000, and then after that, cumulatively, it will become $120,000 before they will charge the VAT. Right. And so it will compound up to about 52% because there are other levies and taxes at the port. So then your $100,000 is going to be taxed with 52% or 55%. Means that one have to find a whooping $55,000 to pay your duty. Right. And people were just crying. People couldn't just do. Because most of the goods that we bring, we cannot outsource them in Ghana. We bring about only 10% of it can we source them locally. About 90-95% we source from outside. And so then it was a problem. Yeah. So when government listened to our plea and mitigated, used the 50% reduction policy, then we found ourselves relieved. We have a respite in a way. Because then, now, if my goods of the same value of $100,000 come, government is going to discount me 50% because of the high rate of the duties. Because actually we wanted the duty rates to be reduced, maybe 20% to 10 or so. So government discount you the 100,000, then becomes 50,000. Yeah. Before they would charge this 55%. Or in case of tin tomatoes and confectionery and all that, the duty rate is 35%. Right. And so before you pay the VAT and the rest, it would have accumulated to 65%. So either 55% on the discounted value or 65% on the discounted value. And this is a great respite for us, and it has come to mitigate and giving some life to the trading community, and even including the manufacturers, because they were not exempted. Also, their goods were also discounted with this 50%. So this is a policy that has come to solve a problem. Now you do not hear those agitations any longer like you used to hear as a journalist. Now there is some peace or sanity that is prevailing at the port. government is having its worth because compliance level have gone up. From the time that this thing, the benchmark policy was introduced, we have exceeded our revenue targets because compliance levels have gone up.
So what you are in effect saying is that the high duties made your members, the business community, the trading community, to indulge in illegal acts such as the under-invoicing, which you said has, stopped at the moment.
This thing have been able to stop it because the benchmark is not my value. The benchmark is a policing system that customs have actually adopted. They have their own values that they use to police us, not to do any bad thing. And so most of us were even saying that those benchmarks that customs have introduced were higher. And so when we could not pay our duties and all that, government said that, okay, these invoice values should be discounted by 50%.
Right.
And we still pay the 55% and the 65% based on the calculations that are there, 20% duty, 17.5 now, 18.5 of VAT, and then other levies and charges at the port, which we pay.
Right.
And then the manufacturers do not pay that because their duties are zero rated.
All right. Okay. So, Dr. Bing, I'll come back to you so that we list some of the benefits that you are that are accruing to you as traders. And let me come to Mr. Akwabwa, who represents manufacturers, because you are coming from the Association of Ghana Industries. Let me find out from you, nearly 2 years down the line, what is the position of the AGI with respect to the 50% benchmark value?
Well, thank you very much. Our position today hasn't been any different from our position at the time it was introduced. And let me take the opportunity to also explain a few things. He talked about what the benchmark value meant. And indeed, he got it right. Benchmark values are values that customs decide to apply based on the valuation that they put on the goods that you have imported.
Right.
But let me mention that customs valuation was not just an arbitrary figure that they put there. It went through a process. They looked at international prices. A lot of the commodities we trade in, they are international prices. They looked at the countries where these products are coming from. And on the basis of that, they fixed a value and say, if your product is coming from this country, this is the natural cost of things. And therefore, this is the value that we expect that you will put on your product, which will form the basis for calculating your duty. Now, what was happening is that people were declaring values which sometimes was way below what customs expected. So in such situation, then they apply the values that they think, that's what they call it benchmark, which is the average figure that they expect it to be. Now, because people were applying values which were lower than that, when they apply their value, then there's the argument that customs value is higher. The problem is that when you reduce it by 50%, what it means is that in situations where people were declaring value, which probably were slightly lower or higher than lower than the customs valuation, for which reason customs said we will apply ours, it probably was about 10% or 15% difference. When you reduce it by 50%, it means that those people are now bringing the products in at a price or at a cost that is way lower than they are even getting it. So the benchmark value reduction by 50% was actually making the imports much, much cheaper. That is a fact. Now, what does that mean? And for us, we said right from the onset, on the very day that this issue was mentioned, AGI came out that we are not against the introduction of the benchmark value reduction because there are certain products that we don't have the capacity to produce in this country.
Okay.
And as much as possible, you want to cushion your citizenry by reducing prices. And therefore, a lot of the things we see in this room, the microphones, the cars, the electronics, the watches, we don't produce them in this country. So if government in its wisdom decides that, let me reduce the duty that we apply on those ones to make the prices cheaper for the citizenry, there's no problem with that. But there are products that we have capacity to produce in this country. And for those products that we are producing, we are employing people in producing those products. We are all talking about industrialization. Government main agenda now is industrialization. Why? Because we think that industrialization can create jobs. Industries can really support the value chain to develop. And at all levels, you are creating jobs. And that's how you actually see redevelopment. Right. And therefore, if you reduce the benchmark values by 50%, and now the importer, who probably was pricing it at a price of, say, 80 cedis, okay, and custom will say, no, that price should have been 100 cedis. Now, when you reduce it by 50%, it means the importer is now getting it at 50 cedis, and therefore the value is going to, the duty is going to be on the 50 cedis instead of the actual price of the 80 cedis he was buying. What does it mean? It means that he's getting the goods in at a much cheaper cost. When it happens that way, you are collapsing local industries. And you have clear examples to demonstrate. He talked about the fact that the local manufacturers also benefit from it. Yes, but local manufacturers, what they bring is something very little. It's raw materials. Raw materials are not for sale into the market. They are inputs for further production. So if they were enjoying, if the rate was, say, 5%, and mind you, raw materials were not coming in at duty-free, completely duty-free. It's only under the CUT that we have those arrangements. But a lot of raw material, they pay some duty. If they have a reduction of about 50% and you're paying 5%, it's much lower. And therefore, the gain you make as a result of the reduction in 50% is far, far lower than an importer who is bringing in finished products. It meant that the finished product of the importer was becoming much cheaper in our local market. And me and you know, when you go to the market and you have goods of the same standard, same quality, and the price of one is lower, which one will you buy? You will naturally buy the lower priced one. And when you do that, you are shipping jobs out there and you are destroying your own local industries. So our argument was that if you want to apply the benchmark value reduction, apply it on goods that we don't have local capacity to produce. For those that we have local capacity to produce, don't reduce the values by 50%. When you do that, you are destroying local industries. Even if you wanted to apply some reduction, discuss with the industry, we sit down, we do the calculation.
Are you telling me that they didn't discuss with you before the 50% benchmark value was?
No, it wasn't discussed with us. It wasn't discussed with us. I mean, that's for sure. It wasn't discussed with us. And therefore, our argument right from the onset has been that maintain the benchmark value reduction, but maintain it on goods that we don't have local capacity to produce. For those that we have local capacity, when you do that, you are destroying local industries. And I can give you a typical example. If you take the edible oil industry, there are several products that but we don't, out of time, because of time, we will not be able to go into all the products. If you take the edible oil industry, before the benchmark value reduction, they were making, an average margin of say, 2.4%. Today, they are making losses of about 1.2%.
Really?
Yes, and for how long can they stay in business? Don't forget that if you take the edible oil industry, I'm giving that as an example because the value chain is so wide and it's so big and it's so important. Our farmers who are producing the palm nuts, they send it to the processors. The processors produce into crude oil. The crude oil are then taken up by the producers of oil. So if you take Welma, for example, that produces the fried oil, the value chain is so wide. When they are making losses, do you know the implication? This is a company that employs 3,000 people. Several others are employed. That's direct. Indirect in the chain. If this company collapses right now, and it is happening now, they are really struggling, and therefore they are not buying as much from the farmers. So farmers are losing. The crude oil producers, the crude oil producers in Kumasi, and Sunyani, and a few others, they are not getting the off-taker. The off-taker is the company that is buying this to produce oil. So the entire value chain is seriously affected.
But
bear in mind,
in a submission, Dr. Obeng indicated that you as manufacturers also benefit from this particular 50% benchmark value. And Mr. Joseph Agbaga, who is a former president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, he's an astute freight forwarder. He sent a word. He says the 50% discount benefits all businesses, whether traders in finished products or industry who manufacture goods. 50% on primary goods for processing of finished goods. Industry, in my estimation, do have an added opportunity in taking advantage of concessionary duty rate. This all manufacturers enjoy. Some manufacturers even have the privilege to defer VAT payments until they make sales.
I think he's completely getting it wrong. Now, when you say they also benefit from it, if my cost is 10 cedis, okay, and that was 100%. You reduce it by 50%, my cost now become 5 cedis. My gain is what? 5 cedis, isn't it? Somebody's whose cost was 100 cedis. If you reduce it by 50%, his cost is now 50 cedis. What is his gain? His gain is 50 cedis as against 5 cedis. Can you compare the two? And it translates into the prices. So definitely, the gain you make as a manufacturer, because your raw material is input, your duty rate on it is percentage is relatively lower. Yeah. And therefore, the gain you also make is very, very slim. But the gain for the finished product is way higher. And it translates into lower price for you. So if I'm gaining 5 cedis and you are gaining 50 cedis, what will be the effect on the prices? Yeah. So they are not the same.
Okay. So I'll come back to Mr. Chumabwa.
If I should come in.
Yes.
I hope you've been interviewing AGI for a long time.
Yes.
And this is no new story. We were there. Before 2019, before the introduction of the benchmark value, they were still saying this story.
Whose story?
Because of importation, we import everything, including toothpicks, and that's why they are not being able to achieve their aims, and that to expand and all that.
To grow.
And that was before 2019. This is just recently. All that they want is that we should do arm twisting policy so that importers do not import, and that they can have their way to overprice the system, which is not fair to the Ghanaian public. When we say do manufacturing, it doesn't mean that you have to do something that you do not have comparative advantage comparing to the rest of the world. We have so many industries that are doing well, and that the locals do not even think of traveling outside, and they buy the goods here. You know the problem of industries? Because they don't know where to tackle their problem. Instead of benchmarking their frustration and all that on FOB prices, those offshore prices of their competitors, they benchmark their prices against importers, which is very bad. And that's why they can't succeed. You know, when they benchmark their prices on FOB prices, that their competitors in China, competitors in Europe, competitors in America and all that, what we have noticed is that their price is more than 40%. Those of FOB prices. So the room is already created there. So if you can't survive from there, that's where you have to tell government that when we produce with the same price of raw material with our counterparts abroad, we cannot still compete with them in terms of price. Before you even come, because after production, yours is not duty bound. Your product is not duty bound because it's made in Ghana. And so, if even my benchmark is reduced by 50%, I'm still paying far higher because you are a manufacturer and then you have your FOB price. Don't also forget that we are surcharged 17.5% of VAT, which is non-refundable to us. And they have it free because when they charge, they take it back. It's refundable to them. So they have a whole lot of advantage. Paying 0 rated duty. Maximum that they pay is 2.5 to 5% duty. Somebody is paying 65%. And menu is also on their 50% reduction. Whatever they are paying, even the 0 or 2.5 or 5 they are paying, is on the 50% discount that they've also gotten. And we are paying more. So how can't you, as a manufacturer, local manufacturer, and I've told you, there are so many companies that they are doing marvelously well, especially the plastic industry, pharmaceutical, and so many areas that people do not even look. Because locally they are doing well. So the onus lies on you to do your due diligences. As a manufacturer, if you are coming to produce anything, you have to do due diligences. They have been citing electricity. What do I care about electricity? Because if you compare electricity, what are you compared to me?
It should be part of your due diligence.
But Doc, it is crystal clear that electricity is a major component of their cost, cost of production.
And so when you factor,
electricity is key.
Excuse me, when you factor electricity in your production, and it's not worth producing because the cost, government is not maybe subsidizing power for you and all that. That's where you have to talk. Because other people have also factored electricity and still they are competitive because maybe the raw materials that they are getting here abounds. And so many, that's why I told you so many factories are succeeding. So the government cannot do arm twisting policy. Because what they forget to understand.
But Doc,
let me finish
India has not been explicit on the fact that they want government to,
to
introduce an arm twisting policy.
This is what they have been saying for years. This selected product that they are talking about is just a bait. When government succumb to it, they will expand it to everything that they are producing here. And that's why we are also talking. Because we have to subject it to scrutiny. If a serious manufacturing entity should not think that in his country, he is selling only to his country, and that his country importers have been arm twisted, and that they have been overcharged with taxes or duty. What about the countries surrounding us? If they do not also, they don't do the same as we are in Ghana. It means that your price is so high, still very high, like we have been complaining, and that you can't even sell to Togo, you can't sell to Nigeria. You understand?
Yeah, that's within the sub-region.
Within the sub-region. Because being here in Ghana, instead of finding a prudent way to be competitive, like I was saying, that will be compared to the FOB price internationally, because copper price is the same the whole world. PVC prices is the same the whole world. Metal prices and all that, aluminium and all that, you see it, you do business news and you read it, and that's the price they all buy. So if you have a common platform where prices are the same, and your competitor is selling cheaper, you cannot come and say, tell government that I did not do my due diligence and that I'm overpricing my import. Ghana, there are so many things that we are doing well, and that we have to go and fund those ones. And government find a proper way to support them to succeed. Not that any company that want to try something, so a company just come, one company that cannot even sustain the market, come and say that I'm trying to manufacture goods here in Ghana, even though all what he is doing is wrong in terms of modern manufacturing components and all that. And because he's trying to manufacture something, then government should come and give me, lend me high values for such maybe an incompetent factory.
All right, so hold your fire, Doc. I'll come back to you. But let me come to you, Mr. Akwabwa. He is stating the fact that you don't price your goods, your duties and all that, in terms of FOB, freight on board. He says you benchmark it with what the traders pay. And he says that probably is your bane. Have you considered this?
I think he's, again, getting it completely wrong. So the argument he's making is that because your cost of production is high in Ghana, and for that reason you are not competitive. So collapse manufacturing, don't produce, because after all, that is your bane, that is your problem. Compared to the FOB price, over there it is cheaper. So if you compare to them, you are uncompetitive. If you are uncompetitive, collapse your industries and import everything. That's the implication of what he's saying. But how can an economy like ours and like several other economies decide that we are collapsing our local industries because our local industries are not competitive? We don't do that. Bear in mind that some of the exports that come into this country, they enjoy export rebates from their respective countries. And indeed, that's why you have the Ghana International Trade Commission and all established. The reason is that some countries make it a deliberate policy that let's go out there and export. So when they are exporting, they even take out duties and everything and even give them concessions. So the goods are shipped into your market at a much lower price. So if you go and apply further benchmark values that reduces it by half at whatever levels you were, then you are collapsing your local industries. They do that when they capture your market, and then they will inflate the prices. At that point, you wouldn't have any local industries to compete with them. We all learned the lessons during the COVID period, when countries were locking down. We're locking up, and goods from those countries that we are importing from were all not coming in. If it had delayed, what would have happened to this country? Because we are so import dependent. No government would do that kind of policy. It's suicidal. So the argument that because your cost of production is higher, collapse your industries, is neither here nor there. The point he's making, which I agree, is that we have constraints in the business environment. You talked about cost of electricity. Ghana, we pay about 15 cents per kilowatt hour. Other countries in China and the rest, they're paying 4 cents. So when it comes to electricity prices, that alone can be a very inimical to your industries. Because you have high cost of production, which is within the environment, and it's not within the control of the individual businesses. Government has a policy to protect local industries a little bit. And every country does it. Any country that decides that, for me, I'm going all out, imports, only imports, because I'm looking at prices to be just on competitive basis, then you are not managing anything. And if you go to any other country, they do that. So let's be very careful the argument we are making. It's not a question of arm twisting. It's about strategy. Today we are talking Continental Free Trade Agreement. Do you know what it means? About 80% to 90% of the products or the goods we'll be trading in are trading goods, physical goods. The rest are services. A majority of them are physical goods. If you don't have an industrial base that can also produce and export to Africa under the Continental Free Trade Agreement, now that is duty-free, quota-free, do you know what it means? They're going to flood your market with goods, and how will you create the jobs? How will you create the employment? Even WTO, the international organization, they all accept that when it comes to infant industries, you support them. So you cannot have a policy, a blanket policy, and say no strategy, no products. When I was talking about, can I finish? I was talking about products that we have local capacity and local competitiveness. If you have reduced the benchmark value that much, okay, and they are in an environment where the cost of production is lower, then you collapse the local industry. So your strategy will be that, which of the products can I have that comparative advantage? What kind of interventions can I make and push those products? And in making those products, when pushing those products, you cannot ask that the same products that you are producing here, and you're having your strategies around it, I'm going to reduce the values of duties on the imports that are coming in to compete unfairly with me. We don't do that. Government is doing one district, one factory. What does it mean? You want to produce, you want to be able to export, you want to be able to enter the local market in a very strong manner. At the same time, you are reducing benchmark values and collapsing the very industries you are setting up. It's not a counterproductive. And let me correct one small impression. You did mention at the beginning that we've sent petitions to international organizations.
Yes, that's what.
We don't need to send petitions to international organizations.
Have you done that?
We have never done that. Okay. We don't send petitions. We are strong enough, we are competent enough to fight. Excuse me. We are strong enough to fight our own battles. And government listening to us. Government wants argument. They want facts. Okay, and we are putting all the facts together, and we are discussing with government the best way forward to achieve its own objective of creating jobs and developing industries. Right. So we don't need international. So the one we've sent petition to is the International Trade Commission. I think Ghana, that clarification is very important.
Which is in Ghana, right? All right. So let me still stay with you, Mr. Akwabwa. I know government has some incentives for local manufacturers in this country, and I will cite the 1D1F policy that government introduced, and it has given rebates, drastic rebates to local manufacturers, people who are in this country who have registered to be part of the 1D1F, and when they bring in goods, I know that the duty is heavily waived. Has your members taken advantage of this particular policy?
The 1D1F policy is a good policy. It is a policy that, if it is really widespread, is going to help this country in a great way. The question is, we talked about opportunity and incentives under 1D1F. How many companies have been able to get funding through the 1D1F to support their production? Not that many. And here again, government has not put a pot of money down for industries. That hasn't happened. What government has done is that they talk to some banks, and then the banks that can give the loans, then they try and give them a bit of a concession of the rate that will apply. But how many companies are being accepted and being considered by the banks? The local banks have to be sure that you, the industrial company that you have applied, you are generating enough resources, you are generating enough cash flows, and that when you take the loan, you'll be able to pay. The risk, the burden is on the banks. And therefore, if the bank doesn't accept you, you cannot even get access to the government concession. And for the bank to accept you, they must be sure that the market is there for you. So if you destroy the market by these benchmark values, it means that the industry that is applying will be uncompetitive from the word go. So the bank will not even accept them. So it's counterproductive again. So you don't have that many local industries that are getting that volume of traction in the sense of the 1D, 1F. It is a good policy. We know that some international companies are also coming in. A few local companies who have the capacity are setting up. They are doing it and all that. So that is good. But it is not that widespread. We need to. I think it's also part of the reason why government is now trying to establish a development bank. It's one of the arguments you've been making all these years. At some point, we even decided that we're going our own to set up our own bank, but we didn't have the resources to do that. Right. So government is setting up one. I believe that if all this come in, it will help a great deal. So they will take advantage, but it's not that simple because for the typical small enterprise, SME sitting at the corner somewhere, who is being frustrated in the market because of all this influx of imports, their capacity to take advantage of some of this opportunity is even very weak. Right. So we need to strategize as a country to be able to push all this agenda.
Okay, Doc, I'll come to you, but for now, let me go to viewers and let you know that you are tuned into Metropolitan Television and the program is Eye on Port, and tonight we are discussing the 50% benchmark value. We have officials from the AGI and GUTA in the studios, and the reason is that AGI seems strongly opposed, and the CEO who is in the studio has been explicit when he stated that their position on this particular policy has not changed from day one. They said they've been against it from day one, but GUTA says this is a very good policy that is benefiting the generality of its membership. You can send us your text messages via our WhatsApp line, which is 0559 019 177, 0559 019 177. I have, some of them in already. I would like to have yours as well. And remember, along the line, we shall activate the phone lines for you to contribute. You can call in and then, ask our panelists some questions. We'll be back after this break.
Every now and again, GOIL makes good things happen. This time, GOIL has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. GOIL Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. GOIL Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. GOIL Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with GOIL Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. GOIL has that sorted. GOIL, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Oh, how are you?
Hi Yvonne, a few words please. Everyone is talking about the fire at your production house last week. How are you holding up? Has production stalled?
No, not at all. My crew and everyone on my set is perfectly fine because I insure with Serene Insurance. As a matter of fact, I've had all my equipment replaced, including the vehicles that were affected. My workers have been sorted out. Even my production downtime has been covered. So it's all good. I have a meeting to attend to, so I have to get going. Sorry about that.
Which insurance company did you mention?
Serene Insurance, the new face of insurance, a member of First Sky Group.
So you're welcome back. My guests are still in the studios. Dr. Joseph Obin, who is the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, and Mr. Seth Chum Akwabwa, who is the chief executive officer of the Association of Ghana Industries. Remember, we're discussing the benchmark values, 50% benchmark value, whether it should be scrapped or it should be retained. GUTA is in favor, AGI is against. Doc, when Mr. Akwabwa was making the submission, I think you were trying to draw my attention or catch my eye, so to speak, to make some interventions. Can we deal with that?
Yeah, I think we have to industrialize, and we are all for it. We support it, but we have to do it rightly. We are in a global world. We have the global interdependency. We would definitely depend on other goods that we cannot manufacture here, and others will have to depend on us on those goods that we can also do it here. And that we cannot lump everything together where we do not have even the competitive advantage and say that we are doing it, and for that matter, the Ghanaian consuming public should be settled, the importers should be settled. That is not fair. He was saying that if the COVID had persisted last year, where China was closed, import would have come down and we will face shortages. It is true. But could they have even sustained the market? No. Because there's a thin line between what we call manufacturing entities here in Ghana, between manufacturing and then the importation. They import over 95%. Some of them are semi-knocked down. They get the components and then they just come and fix them, and they say they are doing manufacturing. And that is... It
means they bring the components and they
exactly.
assemble
Knock down.
Okay.
Yeah. That's also maybe semi-production and all that. But if you are importing about 95% of your raw materials or the components that you need to do your so-called manufacturing entity, then of course you are in trouble. The same way the importer is. And that because you have come in a different guise as a manufacturer, then the one who bought the finished product should be suppressed. That is not fair. And so that's why I've said that we have so many areas that we are doing well. The tiles industry, if we give a very good support and monitor it well, will do well. It means that we can be a hub of tile manufacturing in Ghana. And that's industrialization. Industrialization doesn't mean that we have to produce everything. And now you are saying that there are so many, even if you look at, you go the tray of the trade minister, he's commissioning so many projects and who are all excited. And because they've done their due diligences and they are doing well. So my brother is correct, but then they shouldn't follow those industries that at all time, if government support them, they cannot do anything. We cannot say that we are giving them any support and then cripple importation, because we cannot do without importation also. Great nations like America, UK, and Germany and all that do import. We go to China, we meet their traders all the time. So if we say we should industrialize, we have to be focused. We don't have to go and waste time on those companies that cannot do anything significant.
Right.
And they are there, so many of them trying. They are just giving a try of that, and that's not how it is. You know, before, we have so many companies. How did they all fold up? Before we were doing the Tata assembly and all the matches and so many things. And, and because of industrialization itself, the localization of industry, make it possible for certain products to be manufactured at a certain geographical area. So if you do not do your due diligence well, because these things are doing well, because water is in abundance. Who is importing these things? Clay is in abundance. And so those who are doing the clay, the tiles factory, now they are at par with the rest of the world. And these are the areas that government should look. And then make sure that we make those areas a hub for Ghana. So that Ghana should be known, like cocoa-related factories, cashew-related factories, those things like the 1D1F, now the apple juice, I take it every now and then. I don't think I will buy even the imported one because it is good. Now you cannot, we are comparing competitiveness, the quality, pricing, and then the packaging. And then if they are all very efficiently done, because we have modern technologies of production. And if you do not adopt those modern technologies, that most of them use even robots, some less labor and all that, and you use the obsolete machineries, and then come and you are not being able to competitive with the rest of the world. You cannot tell government, because if you mean to be in industrialization, then you have to do what is modernity. You cannot just do yourself to the obsolete things, come out of overpriced products, bad quality and all that, and then expect that government twist everybody, and then you force those overpriced items. In any case, are they not also thinking that they have to sell these goods to the rest of the world? Doc, and so they have to be competitive like the rest of the world, so that if Ghana alone overpriced imports, yes, where else can you go again?
I'll ask Mr. Akwabwa the same question, but let me ask you first. Do you have anything personal against AGI?
No. You see, AGI, I've been telling AGI that they don't have to take us as some enemies or something. And I've been begging them that we should meet and that we tell them what we found out there, because we travel the globe and we know the machineries, the factories that we enter and all that, and then we can even give some advice. You understand? And because let me tell you, manufacturing is never complete unless it reaches out to the final consumer. They are not shop owners. We are the shop owners. So we sell the goods that they produce to the consuming public. And then the shortfall that they don't have is what we also bring.
You bridge that gap.
And let me also tell you, because I'm very happy that you brought this AGI, the relationship and all that. If AGI, one of their manufacturers get it well, and people have queued to buy the goods from them, they are their own enemies. That's where they will shortlist and say that we have our distributors. Then they will get some few people, maybe just 2 people, their own brothers and sisters, and it becomes difficult for the Ghanaian importer to even outsource these goods from them. And so if the person look elsewhere and then the price is better than this company, then they look outside and bring it. And then also, like we are talking about, we have suppliers credit and all that, which is helping us. We on our own have told government that we want to patronize made in Ghana goods, do something like the EXIM guarantee that countries are doing to promote their local goods, and that you do this credit guarantee, because if I'm getting 180 days credit from my offshore company, come what may, if even duties are increased, I will still get this credit from them. Okay. So these are the areas that they have to look. Yeah. That they tell government that, why don't you arrange something like the EXIM guarantee for our traders to be able to patronize, or because we are not competitive with our offshore competitors, those in Europe, China, and all that, about 40%. I'm telling you. So even if government throws away the benchmark policy reduction, people can still bring the goods based on their pricing difference, right, about 40%. Then you have given so much room for people to even import. Okay, Doc. And so if you don't have the comparative advantage, then you do what is suitable in Ghana. It doesn't mean that one company should be at one company. If one company is doing well, you can also join, and that industry can be a hub for the generality of Ghana.
Let me give you the opportunity, Mr. Akwaba, to also have a bite at the same question. Do you have anything personal? Does the AGI have anything personal against Guta?
Absolutely no. Why do you have anything personal against Guta? Guta is traders group. Yeah. Okay. Part of the chain. The traders group are if you look at traders, they are part of the value chain.
Absolutely.
Manufacturers manufacture, they give it to their wholesalers who are traders,
Yeah.
and then they break the bulk and all that.
Yeah.
So we work with traders.
Yeah.
So we are not against traders. Just as he was mentioning that a few manufacturers, and we are trying to support a few manufacturers, it is not so. Here, if you are also talking of traders, is it every trader that imports? It's also a few importers who are also flooding the market with these goods. The larger number of the traders are there buying products and selling. If it's locally manufactured products and the price is good and they can sell and make their margins, they will buy your products. But where we introduce benchmark values and made the imported products cheaper, they will buy the imported product and sell because they will make a bigger margin there. So we are working with the traders. We have nothing personal against anybody. The point is that we are working on principles here. He's been mentioning 40% price higher of local products than imported goods. I don't think that it's good to channel these figures when we are not factual about it.
Are they right?
Are they
correct?
The other time I said the same thing at the economic management team. If they tell me to provide prices, I will collate all prices elsewhere. That's why. It is a good question. If they have even asked us, why are you not buying from us? And then we put up the figures down and tell you this is the reason. And then you ask yourself, why am I not being able to produce at this same price where raw material is the same? Then we are going for somewhere.
Okay. I don't think you should give my spot to him. So please, I don't think you are helping the discussion. You are not helping the discussion. So allow me to flow a bit, please. So the point is that we are talking of price differences. We are not talking about costs of operational differences. The cost, the business environment cost here is not the same as what you are getting from elsewhere. Right. I also mentioned that some of the countries have it as a strategy to give export rebates. There are some products that comes in here at a price that is lower than the cost of production. How are they able to do that? So if you talk about these prices, and you're not looking at the dynamics of trade, you're not looking at the country dynamics and the strategy they are adapting, that you are not seeing this sometimes in some cases as dumping, which is a strategy to weaken you and gradually take up your market and then increase the price. You are not looking at the long-term effect. You're only looking at immediately comparing the price and say local production is so expensive and all that, and therefore will never sell your products. You are making a big mistake. So let's look at it as a strategy. He talked about tiles doing well and all that, and some of the products he was mentioning. Yes. But after the introduction of the benchmark values, go and see what the figures are looking at. See, we are talking about facts.
It's not true.
Within the last 2 years,
please allow
within the last 2 years that it was introduced, let's look at the products that were doing well and what they are doing now. Again, we talked all along. We've been talking almost at a certain angle, which is similar, but perhaps he's not getting my point. Exactly. The point he's not getting is that we have never said that scrap the benchmark value policy completely. Okay. We haven't said so. And when I started my submission, I made that point very clear, that we are not asking government to just clear everything. It should be gradually managed. You don't overnight reduce benchmark value.
When you say gradually managed, what do you mean? Gradually phased out or gradually what?
Listen. You are looking at products that you have local
competitive advantage
and competitive advantage.
Okay.
Perhaps the difference is slim, maybe 10% difference. Once you reduce the benchmark values by that margin, 50%, you put the local industry under stress. Definitely, they are not going to be competitive, so they can't produce in volume.
Right.
And bear in mind that when it comes to production and costing, economies of scale plays a key role. So if I'm producing and I'm not getting enough market, I can't expand. When I'm not expanding, the overheads cannot be spread over a bigger unit.
Right.
And therefore, cost per unit will continue to be expensive. Rather, what countries do is that they encourage their people, they buy their products, and then I encourage them to expand, produce in volumes. When you produce in volume, cost per unit becomes cheap, and that's where you can export.
Right.
So what we are doing, we are rather discouraging production for export. And I don't think that is good enough for us as a country.
Okay, so viewers, you can call in. The number to call is 020-552-8353. 020-552-8353. My guests are ready. They will pick your calls and they will answer whatever questions it is that you have. But I raised this issue that we see the trade minister, all over the place, visiting factories, manufacturers who are doing very well. And that should be a sign that local industry is doing well. Now, you are arguing against that. You said that's not true.
Am I arguing against that? I'm not arguing against that. That is actually encouraging, and that should be supported. And we should even support it more by making sure that when we have commissioned all these factories and they are producing, we support them to succeed in the market and export.
Right.
We don't have a counter policy that rather discourages them after they have established, because they are investing money and we are going around commissioning them, which is perfect. It's good. It means that there's confidence in the Ghanaian economy. Industries and investors see potential in the manufacturing sector. But when they have started production and they are doing well, don't introduce benchmark value reduction. That makes them uncompetitive, because they can become very counter to whatever you're doing.
Right.
So we are not saying it's bad,
Okay.
but don't let us put them in a situation where they can't survive in the long run.
Let me go to some messages here. This one says, I'm enjoying this discussion, and I think the president of GUTA is making a lot of sense. This one is from Francis from Hohoi. Thank you very much, Francis, for your message. This one is from Ohima in Tema. She says, good evening, Iron Port. Great job. For me, I say it should be retained because, one, of the many nuisance charges at the port, which has increased the cost of doing business, and two, during the ICOM's implementation in 2020, many delays were encountered, which resulted in lots of demurrages, rent, and other related charges borne for traders. Three, COVID and the many lockdowns has greatly affected businesses, and most traders have to pay huge demurrage charges and rent, as most of the shipping lines didn't heed the waiver requested by government. Four, the recently introduced COVID levy has added to the cost of doing business, and although we, the consumers, haven't really seen much of a reduction in prices, I dare say it should be retained. AGI is just doing IRED. Right, so I think we have somebody on the line from Mankesim. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Please tell us your name and go ahead with your question.
Please, I'm Obing from Mankesim.
Mr. Obing?
Yes.
Okay, sir, please flow.
It looks as if the two panelists on your show are arguing on themselves. I think they should have a meeting between them so that you iron out their differences. But I called because of Eku Juice in Ekunfi.
Ekunfi, yes.
Yes. I've just studied the market and see that there was this product on the market.
Hello, Mr. Obing? Yeah. Hello, Mr. Obing?
2 CD, 50 pesos. About the production.
Your line is a bit cranky.
The start came to 1 CD. So I think 250 ml. Now it's selling at 1 CD, where equity is also now at 250. You see, that's the price, that is 2 CD, 50 pesos. Now, the people in marketing cannot even buy the product as simple as they can buy imported product. So I think, in fact, there's a scheme somewhere, and it will affect the local product all the time. Because they were selling so high when the product came in with the local product. Now they have reduced their prices. People are selling at the roadside today, Sunday, 1 CD, 1 CD, 1 CD. Before it was almost about 2 CD. Now the product has come down drastically.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Obing. Mr. Obing from Mankesim, he says, he gives the example of Eku Juice, which is being produced in the Kunfi, and he says the price has come down drastically. When they started, those 2 cities, 50 pesos. Now on the streets, it's 1 city, which makes it quite, affordable for everyone to buy. And he is, prescribing a meeting between the AGI and GUTA. Yeah. So you can iron this. I recall Mr. Obing, Dr. Obing mentioned this, that, they are calling for a meeting as brothers. Sit down and then Giorgio, and let's see what it is. Hello, good evening. Okay, I don't think we have another caller yet. Let's move on. So,
It's my turn.
It's your
No,
turn.
it's not your turn. No, it cannot be.
Okay, so
It's my turn.
all right. So Imani Africa has reckoned that a complete reversal of the benchmark values could add on some 300 million Ghana cedis every month to government revenue. So they want it scrapped. I'll take your take.
A lag basis.
But let me pick a call from Takrady before you come in. Hello, good evening, sir. Hello, good evening. Hello.
I support the AGI man.
Yes, your name, please.
My name is Boche from Takrady.
Boche, good evening, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. I support the AGI man. You know, this country, look at the youth. We don't have jobs. And they continue importing. They'll get their money, build their mansions. By the end of the day, they will fence it. They will fence it with electrical fence and they will be on it. Look at the guarantee issue. All the youth are stranded in this country. And they will continue to import cheap goods. Well, look at the man who gives reference to a Kunfi juice. If they take 250 pesos, now they have already, don't you think they will lay out some of the workers? They will lay down some of the workers. They should look at the youths and stop importing for their own selfish interest. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Boche from Takrady. We're grateful for your call. And remember, you can also give us a call, and the number to dial is 020-552-8353. So let me come to you, Dr. Obing. Good, Imani wants this thing phased out so that, government can get enough revenue. He says government will be able to accrue some $300 million every year if, this particular policy is scrapped.
Every month or every year?
Every month, yes.
No, it lacks basis. It has no merit. It's not scientific. How could they just sit up and then concoct some figures and say this? Because I'm telling you, if taxes are affordable, the compliance level is very high. Did they factor those things? Did they factor the fact that we have been there before, just 2018, and we couldn't even achieve our revenue target? Upon what basis are they bringing these figures? They are not just being scientific. They just can't throw things out there to confuse the public.
Right.
It's never so. Because even 300 times 12 means 36 billion. Even the whole of what customs got 2018 was it. So addition of 300 million.
Okay.
But let me finish by saying that.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that manufacturing is very good. That's the way out for our country, and we support it.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that we cannot do it all. We do those areas that we have the competitive edge, that we have the raw material, like the 1D, 1F.
Absolutely.
And that nobody should come and experiment a factory that they cannot do for government to suppress us.
Right.
That is never done because we cannot produce everything.
Yes, Doc. I'll come to you, Mr. Kwabwa, to tell us some of the things that you captured in your petition to the Ghana International Trade Commission, and then we would be wrapping up. But I understand we have a call on the line. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening. This
Albert.
is Albert.
Oyarifa, yes. Good evening, Albert.
All right. Albert from Oyarifa.
Thank you very much, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes, I think Dr. Obing is making a lot of sense. But I will recommend that they should sit down together because most of these manufacturers, they import most of their product before they also bring the final product out. So maybe they should meet together. Then maybe Guta will share with them because they have traveled wide. Share with them what they have seen, so that based on that, maybe they can try to reduce some of these areas that are bringing the prices so high. Right. I think that should be the best thing because I think Guta is making a very, very strong point. Very, very strong point because we are competitive at certain areas. Not everything we can produce. Right. It's not everything in Ghana here we can produce and make it. So maybe they should sit together and let them show them how businesses are run elsewhere. Or if you sit here and you think you are in your comfort zone, you may not make it.
All right.
So
Thank you very much, Albert from Oyarifa. We're grateful for your time. And unfortunately, that's our last caller. We cannot pick any more calls because we are running out of time. So let me come to you quickly, Mr. Kwaba. I'll give you 2 minutes to tell us some of the issues you captured in your petition to the Ghana International Trade Commission.
Well, basically the issues we've discussed here. One, the fact that we are not asking for a total ban on products. You talked about we live in a global world. Yes, we know we live in a global world, but we also living with global practices. And it's a global practice that for most countries, they protect their industries a little bit. They do that. And they adapt all kinds of strategies to do that, so that you can upscale, produce on large scale, and then you can export and become competitive out there. So you cannot just open up everything. In any case, we are also not asking that there's total ban. We are asking of selected products we have comparative advantage, so that we can work with those ones. So these are all some of the things we mentioned. But let me give you an example. In the case of rice production, of late we talk a lot about rice. Now Ghana rice is being produced and all that. Before the benchmark value introduction, you know, the imported rice was arriving here about $600 per ton. Okay, the local production was slightly higher. Now the local production has gone up because so many challenges in the environment to about $738 per ton. With the benchmark value reduction, it is now landing here at 510. Who will go and buy the local rice? If you don't buy the local rice, what is the implication? I like what one of the callers said. The youth need jobs. We need to create jobs in this country. When we're able to produce local rice, okay, and we don't consume because the prices are expensive, because we have brought in benchmark value reduction, what is going to happen? It will discourage local production. You can never export because you will not be competitive. So what you do is that keep the benchmark value for some of those products that can't we produce rice in this country? Why are we importing so much rice? If you allow that to continue, we'll never produce enough. Okay? And if you don't produce enough, the price will never come down. And you cannot be competitive in export. So it's a market dynamics, and you have to think long term. And if you are thinking long term, these are some of the things you have to look at.
So basically, what you are telling government to do is to phase out, is to do something about
review the benchmark policies, look at the strategic products that we have local capacity to produce. For those ones, don't apply that reduction so that you can encourage local industries to grow.
Right. Okay, so I'll be looking forward to that meeting between GUTA and AGI pretty soon. And when you are having it, please don't hesitate to invite Iron Port. We'll come and then we'll come and give viewers a report. That yes, the call for you to meet has been heeded.
So they have a whole lot of advantage. They have.
He's always talking about they have a whole lot of advantage.
VAT.
It is not true.
We don't take it.
It is not true.
And they have zero rated duties and all that. If they cannot do with this thing, let me tell him, Continental Free Trade Area is here. And it's coming with zero duty. So our local manufacturers are saying that they cannot survive.
And after.
That's what they are saying. Excuse me.
He's not thinking strategy.
Unfortunately, we don't have time.
It's very pathetic.
Unfortunately, our time is up.
It's very pathetic that our local industries are saying that they cannot produce under after.
Unfortunately, our time is up.
That's what they are saying.
Unfortunately,
and companies should do due diligence. We say that there are so many companies that are coming here. Those companies have done due diligences, including the electricity prices, and they are coming here in droves.
We are wrapping up.
Those who know what they are doing
we are wrapping up. Our time is up. They'll cut us off
just a few who cannot.
Our time is up. This one says, good evening. I was surprised you asked Mr. Akwabua that the government consult them before the benchmark decision. You shouldn't have expected a positive answer. If government consult its citizens and heads of sensitive sectors in decision-making, our economy would have not been in the shambles by now. The economy is clearly not working. Well, that's from, so you didn't add your name. Next time when you're sending a message, please endeavor to send your name. I'd like to say a big thanks to Mr. Sechuma Kwabo, Chief Executive of the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, and I also say thanks to Dr. Joseph Obing, President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA. We've been discussing the 50% benchmark value in our ports. Thank you very much, and make a date again next week for another wonderful edition of Iron Port. Remember, the abridged version of the show will be aired on Ghana Television on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Good evening.